Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Ball Games in Bellingham, Mass. Here we have Ben on Grixis Control versus Tony Scapone on Blue-Red Delver, a deck that he plays quite a bit online as well as in person here. Having success with both Tony getting back into Magic after quite a layoff. Used to play with him back in the day at Scholars Games back in Bridgewater, Mass, before it had moved to Brockton and eventually closed its doors. Tony now back and playing pretty frequently here at Time Vault. Basic Island for Ben, and now Tony going to go ahead and fetch out his own Basic Island for a turn 1 Delver. Exactly where Delver wants to be, but Grixis, no stranger to dealing with early threats. They have a variety of options, and it's going to be Lightning Bolt sent at this Delver, avoiding any type of daze countermeasures. And things already a little tough for Tony here. Really, you want that Delver to stick and start moving forward. And a Baleful Strix, that finds a Spell Snare. Baleful Strix, another great answer to Delver of Secrets. However, not really the best answer to Young Pyromancer, which is more than likely going to be Tony's path to victory here. Very difficult to make a single body stick versus this deck that's just so full of answers. And here we see another Baleful Strix. Tony was able to Spell Snare the first one, preventing the card advantage that comes along with this card, trading for your best creature. And he has another Spell Snare. Wasteland now hitting Underground Sea, and things looking good for Tony if he had a clock. And now we have a Force of Will pitching Force on this Young Pyromancer. Ben firmly saying no to that possibility. Pyromancer can go wide, nullifying a lot of the removal, particularly making cards like Liliana's Triumph and Angarth's Rampage, I believe it is, the new War of the Spark, black and a red card. They must sacrifice an artifact, creature, or planeswalker, your choice. That card just tremendous in this type of deck, giving added versatility to the removal. Really something that makes Grixis Control a real contender, despite many people overlooking it since the printing of Wrenn and 6 and the super greedy mana bases that are possible. A Wasteland again for Tony, and gonna go after that Underground Sea. So Ben's mana base hamstrung here from Tony. Again, if he could just have a threat on board, he'd be in very good shape. Fetching now, he does have 3 mana. Will we see a True Name? There it is, True Name Nemesis. That guy does sidestep much of the removal, but Ben gonna have access to Edict effects. And he actually fires one off during the end step. Not afraid of daze there. Has to pass the turn back. Force of Will pitching Jace on this counterbalance. We don't know if that Force of Will was available for the Liliana's Triumph, but he did not have the ability to resolve that Edict effect. Will he find another Edict or another way to get rid of this? Oh, and Plague Engineer. That is also Force of Willed, and both players just throwing bombs at each other here. True Name Nemesis, and now a Delver of Secrets. Delver finds Kolgan Command, bringing back that Plague Engineer. What a powerful play here from Ben. Grixis Control showing some serious muscle here. Real endurance down the stretch, not running out of resources. and just continuing to have must counters. Plague Engineer hits, KOs that True Name Nemesis, and now begins the offense on his own. And the beatings begin here, 2 damage at a time. Now he has his own True Name Nemesis. Plague Engineer, such a filthy card. The fact that it doesn't work like Engineered Plague, that it's only destroying your opponent's chance at victory and not undermining your own X1's, just incredibly good. 5 damage a turn here. Counterbalance for Tony, not going to do it. A reactive defensive card when you're getting beaten down for 5, and that is just not going to get the job done. Can be a totally reasonable card for protecting your own creatures from removal, potentially stopping your opponent from coming over the top with powerful effects, but man, at that point things had gotten so sideways thanks to that Plague Engineer, and Kolgan's Command just really strong there. Incredibly good, killing a Delver and getting back that Plague Engineer. Just tremendous. That is a really incredible card that showcases the versatility of Legacy. The fact that you can have a 3-mana answer in this format, I think, is really a great thing. I mean, I enjoy Vintage a lot. I've played... I mean, at this point, I've probably played more Legacy. I used to play so much Vintage, it was comical. I mean, I could actually play in 6 Vintage tournaments a week at the real heyday of the format when I was younger. But really, in that format, anything that costs 3 mana needs to be something to be winning the game. Something like a Show and Tell in Legacy. Something that's like, boom, game over. Monastery Mentor was good enough. But for the most part, you really didn't play 3 mana answers or 3 mana, really anything, unless it was just straight up good enough to end the game. Cards like Yawgmoth's Will. And here in Legacy, you know, the speed of the format, the decks that people play, and the relative power level is balanced out in such a way where we can have those type of incredibly good cards like Kolgan's Command actually playable and able to do their work right in the same format with decks that can, you know, like literally win on the first turn. So yeah, Legacy is just in an incredible spot. I gotta say, it's got to be the best that it's been since I've been playing, really. I mean, you know, the Deathrite Shaman bans and the Sensei's Divining Top bans, from a kind of philosophical perspective, it's not entirely clear that those bannings fit what Legacy is, you know, quote unquote supposed to be. But at this stage, I think it's really hard to argue against either of them. We have a tremendous amount of variety in the metagame. There's all sorts of strategies represented, and yet it is not solved by any stretch, and we're constantly seeing new innovations and new printings being incorporated, you know, kind of the way that they should be. Like, they're disruptive, they shake things up, but they don't just burn everything to the ground anytime that there's some type of new powerful printing. So a slow start here for both players. Prismatic Vista landing for Tony. That printing a real boon to so many decks. Happy to just fetch basic lands of any color. If you're playing... In this deck, it is very often another Scalding Tarn. The deck is happy to fetch out basics thanks to Price of Progress. Though in this matchup, may not be too bad to fetch basic lands. Ben not likely going to mess with Tony's mana base too much. He has plenty to deal with the board. And now the first creature being committed here, a Dreadhorde Arcanist. Oh, and it looks like the mountain might be in his hand. So he can't cast the Dreadhorde Arcanist. He cracked the fetch land. And I guess fortunate that Ben did not like snap Force of Will it. That would have been that would have been a real issue there. We see here a counterbalance being cast, and that gets pyroblasted. So Tony actually punished there, perhaps has the mountain in his hand. I doubt he boarded it out. I doubt he's trimming mana in this matchup. So an oversight there, costing him some tempo, and it's possible that that Dreadhorde Arcanist would have actually resolved as Red Blast or Pyroblast not actually going to stop him. So, and now True Name Nemesis off of a Wasteland, leaving up a blue for a Spell Snare and a Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce countering that Pyroblast, as Ben had pondered on his turn. Brainstorm now with the fetch land up. And a Volcanic Island adding to his mana base for Plague Engineer, and that guy just gets in there and starts doing work again. What a brutal answer to True Name Nemesis, blanking him and all his friends. Dreadhorde Arcanist now. Plague Engineer can often make Dreadhorde Arcanist absolutely terrible as well. A 0 power creature is not going to be flashing much back. And Liliana's Triumph gets countered by Spell Snare, and Plague Engineer still an answer to Dreadhorde. For now, dead gone. Gonna go ahead and dead him. Tony now able to flashback. Oh, flashback Ponder. Treating it like a brainstorm for a second there. He sees some spells that Dreadhorde can make good use out of, including Lightning Bolt. Wasteland. Gonna take out most likely the Volcanic Island. Leaving Ben now with just black and blue. Snapcaster prompts Tony to cast a Snapcaster of his own and get double use out of that Spell Snare. And Tony looking to be in pretty good shape here. So pre-combat Ponder. And flashing back that same Ponder. And there's some Lightning Bolts floating about here, which could really close the door quite fast with Dreadhorde Arcanist. 3 damage pre-combat, 3 damage during combat. I mean, that's going to end it in a turn or two. Tony's just trying to hold on. Dreadhorde Arcanist going to be pretty difficult to remove from here. Hardcast Daze. Brushing aside that Hymn to Torok. And Tony still not going with these Lightning Bolts quite yet. Winter Orb, while Ben is tapped out. And Tony electing to continue drawing extra cards. Is now the time that he starts with the Lightning Bolt. This should do it. Is this now lethal? The life total slightly off screen, as it looks like the table may have been tilted a little bit. I apologize for that. But that is it there for game 2. Tony using those Lightning Bolts for extra reach just at the last turn, instead continuing to fuel his hand, make sure that there's 0 chance that Ben can find a way back into the game. Little mana disruption sprinkled in there as well, and he finds himself in game number 3 against this Grixis control build. This build, I believe, made it to the finals of our ELD Legacy Open. Delver of Secrets off of a volcanic island. I believe it was there defeated by Death's Shadow. That may be a spoiler if I haven't gotten to those videos yet. I'm not actually sure I have. Delver of Secrets, turn 1, flipped. Ponder, making sure that he flips next time. Ben, no fireworks yet. An interesting question if he'd actually cast a Plague Engineer into this just to kill the wizard, if he has it. Baleful Strix, and that is probably the better answer. It is worth noting there are a lot of wizards in the deck. Young Pyromancer and Delver of Secrets, both with those tiny little 1-butts that cannot stand up to Plague Engineer. A Lightning Bolt clears that Baleful Strix, and Delver doesn't flip despite a Ponder on the previous turn. Very interesting keep there on top of the library. Lightning Bolt taking out the Baleful Strix, leaving Ben up a card on the exchange. And now Wasteland, again, trading 1 for 1. And another Delver of Secrets. And this game could go any number of ways here. If both of these Delvers flip next turn, it is going to be a ton of damage crashing in for the next 2 or 3 turns. We see a Pyroblast in Ben's hand. So it is fairly unlikely that these guys are going to stick around for long, at least as a tag team. And True Name Nemesis coming down now. Ben actually looking to do a little bit of racing, perhaps. 6 damage in the air. And Winter Orb absolutely punishing this True Name play. Pyroblast takes out one of the Delvers. But Tony's still winning this race. 3 more in the air. If he can find an answer, he may be able to coast to victory on this True Name, but right now he is losing this race to the Delver of Secrets that is flipped. Insectile Aberration deals 3 damage, just like the True Name. Neither of them are going to be able to interact with each other. And that will do it. So Delver finishing the final point of damage. Plague Engineer not quite enough. Wasn't able to get down when Delver was just a 1-1. Once it's a 3-2, it slows it down a little bit, but not going to be enough there. And Ben now showing his sideboard decisions. Force of Will not exactly ideal in this matchup. So Tony hanging tough and getting it done with Winter Orb, a very solid looking sideboard strategy versus these control heavy mana bases that just require a ton of lands to make those powerful plays turn after turn. Winter Orb, some old tech coming back. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.